All right, graphing linear equations when they're written out in standard form can be kind of tricky because there's two main ways to go about it. And sometimes you want to use this method, other times you want to use the other method. So you're going to become a master if you stick with me through the end of this video. I'm going to teach you what method I would go for this one and why I would switch it up and do a different method when working this problem out here. Okay, so let's first talk about our two methods. Two methods of graphing a standard form equation, if it's linear, is to use your zeros to find your x and your y intercepts. Those would be dots that fall on the x-axis and the y-axis. Or we could just convert one of these equations into what's called slope-intercept form. You should know by now that slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So we want to rearrange the terms and put it into that form of a linear equation, and then just graph like we typically would out of slope-intercept form. So which one of these would I use the zero method on? Which one would I convert to a different form? I'm going to tell you right now that this first equation in standard form, I'm going to use my zeros on this one. This is the one I'm going to convert to slope-intercept form. Now, what's my reasoning behind the y? Now, if you're a student and you know why I'm going to use zeros here and why I'm going to convert there, you probably have a deep understanding of standard form equations and how they all work. There's a typical reason that I'm looking for, and that's these two numbers need to be divisible by that. I know 24 is divisible by 3. I know 24 is divisible by 6. Because of that reason, we're going to use zeros. That's going to be our method of solving, method of graphing this equation out, is using the zeros, finding the intercepts. Now this one over here, if I say 15 divided by 5, that's going to come out nice and neat, but 15 divided by 4, that's going to give me a decimal, which means I'm going to have to go in between these lines, right? I'm not going to be on an integer. I'm going to be halfway or midway between them somewhere. So because of that reason, this one I'm going to convert to y equals mx plus b. So what you as a student should start doing, you see a standard form equation. First thought is, are these coefficients divisible by the constant written out as the c? If they're divisible by this number, use your zeros. It'll be nice, quick, and easy. If they're not both divisible, 5 is, but 4 is not divisible by 15. For that reason, I would convert to slope-intercept form. This is my recommendation. By no means do you have to do that, but I can promise you it's going to make it quite a bit easier if you do. Let's start with using our zeros. What does that look like? I tell my students to write 0, comma, something, comma, 0. This is when the 0 is a y. This is when the 0 is an x. You plug a 0 in for x, 3 times 0, that's just going to make a 0. So it's just going to go away, leaving you with 6y equals 24. 6y equals 24. So if we just divide by 6, when x is 0, y has to be 4. I can go to my graph right now and plot 0, 4 if I want to. But let's at least figure out this value. Plug the 0 in for the y. So all I'm going to do is the same thing, but instead of putting 0 in for x, now I'm putting 0 in for y. 6 times 0. What you're going to start to notice every time you do this, that term just goes away. It just eliminates, right? Because anything times 0 is going to make a 0. That leaves us with, that leaves us with 3x equals 24. And we can solve by dividing by 3. X must be 8. So now that I got 0, 4, and 8, 0, I can graph this equation by using those two dots. Not only are they dots on my line, they're super important dots. They're my intercepts. They tell me a lot when dealing with a word problem or a real world situation. 0, 4 would be right there. 8, 0, 5, 6, 7, oh, I gave myself not enough, 8. So that right there would be my line of this equation. Find your zeros. That's your x and your y intercept. Plot them. Connect your dots. All right, now let's go over one where we have to convert. Converting from standard form, ax plus by equals c, to a new form, I tell my students, write y equals mx plus b down at the very bottom. Now you know what your goal is. You know what you're trying to get to. We got to get y by itself. That's my goal. isolate the y. So let's first get rid of that term, minus 4x, minus 4x. 15 minus 4x, well, these are not like terms, so you need to write them as two separate terms. That'd be a 4x and a positive 15. Bring your 5y down. Now to get rid of that 5, because it's being multiplied by y, we divide, just like we did over here, right? Divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by 5. Cancels. I now have y equals negative 4/5 x plus 3. This is written in slope-intercept form. Graphing from slope-intercept form, all we need to do is mark the y-intercept. That's the b. So mark whatever number is by itself at the end. So let's put 3 on the y-axis. And then from there, I need to use my slope. My slope is negative 4/5. Slope is your rise over your run. But the problem is I wouldn't use the word rise here because it's negative. Instead of rising, I'm going to be going down 4 and then over 5. When we run, we always run to the right. So from this dot that I already created, 3, I need to go down 4 over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Place my dot, and this would be the line for that equation. All right, so two different methods. Use your zeros. When do we do that? If the coefficients are divisible by the c term. If the coefficients are not divisible by the c term, convert to slope-intercept. By doing these things, it's going to make this a lot easier. Doesn't mean you can't convert this one. Doesn't mean you can't use your zeros for this one. It just makes it a lot more challenging if you do. If you know these tricks, you're going to set yourself up for success. Study hard, and good luck on your upcoming test.